The international news media have spent much of the past 2 months camped outside hospitals. This past week, they were in London waiting on news of the latest arrival in the House of Windsor. Prior to that, they were in Pretoria, where Nelson Mandela was thought to be on his deathbed. The journalists who descended on South Africa were described by Mandela's daughter as vultures, circling slowly, patiently, awaiting what they thought would be the final chapter in the life of an extraordinary man. The story at St. Mary's Hospital in London, where the media pack was awaiting news from the stork, was a different kind of news commodity, the start of a life that will be lived in the media glare, a celebration of celebrity. The two stories reveal much about the two countries and the way the news media operate. Our starting points this week are the capitals of Britain and its former colony, South Africa.
It's been an extraordinary summer. Since June 3rd, I have been waiting for either death or birth.
I'd say of every ongoing news story in the world, Britain's royals are the worst reported.
We just go with the hype and report like everybody else does.
Journalists should be questioning the way that they've been covering these stories.
Not to minimize in any way the difficulties of giving birth, the most painful part of this particular delivery had to be the media coverage. It was prolonged.
After weeks and weeks of waiting.
Laborious.
Well, the latest is that we're waiting on news.
And worthy of medication.
Well, plenty more to come from here, of course. None of it news.
It was brutal.
If ever there was a story where you were going to get excesses of breathless description and serial inanities, it was the royal baby story. The reason being, there was this great Kate wait. There was this hugely extended period of time when you had photographers and news cameras parked outside a hospital with absolutely nothing happening. And even when things started to happen, what was there to report? That a woman had gone inside the hospital and was believed to be in labour.
I don't know anything. We know so little about this baby. If there's one story from this event, man, the palace has learned how to manipulate us. This is entertainment voyeurism. We're all waiting for Kate to come out with the baby, but everybody will have the same shot virtually. It's a bit crazy.
And so anything like that, and particularly with 24-hour news, brings out absolutely the worst, or depending on your sense of humour, the funniest in broadcast journalism.
We are expecting an update shortly.
Yeah, we think that there'll be some sort of announcement in the next few minutes, whatever that is.
Private Eye, the British satirical institution, parodied the media's overexcitement in just 3 words. And The Guardian mercifully gave readers who didn't consider the birth newsworthy an escape hatch. Republicans could click on a tab and presto, it was as if the whole scene at the hospital never happened.
In a way, it's a slightly problematic story for The Guardian because we're a Republican newspaper. It's a sort of quite a cute way of acknowledging that a lot of Guardian readers really don't want royal coverage, so they can opt out of it. I think it had about 400,000 hits, so a lot of people were obviously clicking out of curiosity, but at the same time, I think some people really do want their website news organisation of choice not to be covering the royal family.
In a way, Nelson Mandela is African royalty. There are few who would question his legitimacy, the importance of his story. Journalists began camping outside the Mediclinic Heart Hospital in Pretoria in early June. As the weeks went by, tension grew between the family and the media pack. There were few developments. It was the kind of information vacuum the media abhor. The reporting became testing. That's when a family member called out the media.
They are making themselves such a nuisance. It's like truly vultures.
I don't think that was fair comment, to be honest. I have a healthy disregard for our club, the media club, in that we are often too invasive, too in people's faces, especially at dramatic points in their life.
Some dignity, guys.
But Nelson Mandela is a historical figure, so I don't think it was exploitative. It's probably not efficient to have this many journalists waiting for weeks for an event just to say that they were there. Mandela's death is exceedingly important, but let's report on them when they come, not wait for weeks and weeks just to stand on a box and say it's time.
Journalists came here with the expectation that they were probably going to be reporting on his death ultimately, and they were hoping that even though his health was critical, that they would just get some more information. Whereas what we saw from the UK media, and especially the reporting on the birth of the Prince, is that there was always a media relations person giving an extra bit of information, enough for the journalist to be occupied, report on it, and still generate some positive coverage for the family.
There is a real problem for news journalism with these sorts of events. Something that has at its core an imponderable, unknowable time frame presents really insuperable challenges for quality, because what it means is that you are going to have to be covering it because if you believe that there is an appetite but you're also frightened of missing the key moments and you don't know when they're going to be, it means that you inevitably do this terrible thing of parking people there and asking them to sound happy or sound sad and to fill time.
Eventually, the static nature of the Mandela story, the stabilizing of his condition, led the global media away from Pretoria. First, their lenses swung toward Hong Kong and then Moscow for the Edward Snowden story. Then a brief stopover in Cairo for the drama there, before focusing on the melodrama in London, which was reported widely, even in South Africa.
What it says is that Nelson Mandela's story became boring. It became stayed in the media, and therefore, who wants to report on something that everybody knows and it's nothing new, so let's go look for something new. The thing about the royal baby birth is that it still remains relevant for a specific target market within this country. It's just interesting, just before I'd come here, I heard one of the people on radio saying that why don't we get this coverage on the Zulu prince when he's born, or something like that? Why is there so much hype around the British prince?
There's like all kinds of news channels that broadcast in English, so it's easy for us to understand. We've got this big video wall in our newsroom, which has BBC, Sky News, CNN, and that was it for 15 years perhaps. Only recently we have Al Jazeera English. This comes in by the bucket loads in our newsrooms. This royal news, it's continuous reporting, and that influences our decision making. Well, we think, oh, there's so much news and so much reporting on this, so it must be important, but it's lazy thinking, of course.
It's not just laziness, it's economics. London is a global media hub. Every major news organization has a presence in the city, some just down the road from the palace. It's ironic. Royalty is seen as glamorous, but this story is cheap and easy to produce. And celebrities are an easy sell, especially those who speak English, still the lingua franca of the global media. Add it all up, and it's an irresistible story. What it isn't is news.
He's a big boy, he's quite heavy.
Not really. Our Global Village voices now on the coverage of two very different news stories.
I have to say I find the Guardian's decision to allow its readers to opt out of royal baby news if they want to slightly strange. To me it seems like quite a cynical move by a paper that's really run out of ideas with nothing original to offer. Like it or not, the royal baby's news, and at some point the royal couple will start offering interviews, and you can bet your life the Guardian will be front of the queue.
The media's attention to the failing health of Nelson Mandela was particularly atrocious. They seemed quite deflated that in the end, after such a massive build-up, there was no demise, and I'm sure they had all their death stories ready, and in the end, for them, there's quite simply no news.